Hey everyone, I have Letty here. Letty is brave and she has volunteered for a live coaching session. So say hi to everyone.
Hey guys.
So what we're going to talk about today is social media engagement, online networking strategy, and maybe even using some strengths here. We'll see where it goes. So what we're going to cover in this coaching session for those of you guys that are watching or listening is I'm going to ask Letty what's hard for her right now with online networking. She's going to share it. We're going to solve it, and we're going to give Letty some actions to take. And I think that, as Letty and I were chatting before, is the challenges that she's having are almost universal right now in the network marketing industry. So I'm certain that if you're watching or listening, you're going to hear something that is super helpful for you and or team members that you have. So thanks so much for being here, Letty. What is hard for you when it comes to social media and online networking right now?
I think the biggest thing is trying to figure out how to engage somebody with my business from just a social posting back and forth. Like if I make a post about my kids and they comment, how do I then turn that into an opportunity to have a conversation about my business?
Okay. So what have you already tried for social media in general that has worked? And then what have you tried that hasn't worked? And then what have you avoided? So I'll restate those, but that's where I'm going. Okay, so what have you tried that's worked?
Okay, so when you say what has worked, are we talking about just getting engagement?
Anything.
Okay,
So if engagement is working, then we'll put that on the what's worked.
yes, I did look at I went through your personal page strategies to do some of that, and then I was trying the different types of posts that I was learning about from you. So I've done the personal post where it's, you know, like a picture of my family, like I said, and I do get lots of comments if I tell a good story about the picture of my family. And then I've also done a question one. I just did one recently of, you know, I was kind of bored of my recipes I've been using. Somebody help me out and post some good recipes, right? And that got engagement.
Great.
But once I get the engagement, what do I do with the engagement?
Okay, so have you tried anything
No.
that hasn't worked? Okay. So
No, because I'm one of those people where if I don't know exactly what to say or how to bring it around to that, I don't really want to do it, because in my head, I'm thinking if I knew the right words to say, I have a better opportunity or a better chance of getting this person to engage with me. But if I say something bad, then I might lose that opportunity in that person forever and ever.
yeah. But then it's like Wayne Gretzky, right? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So then you get caught in this like loop, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that's a normal loop. I also think that, I don't know if admirable is the right word, but it comes from a place of thoughtfulness as opposed to fear. And I understand that, right? It's not I'm afraid of what they're going to think of me. It's if I'm going to do it, I want to do it well. Am I understanding that correctly?
Correct.
Okay. So first off, like if you're listening to this or watching this, if you are in the if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it well. That is a different issue that I'm afraid of what they're going to think. And so it's just like with like this is business health we're talking about. So just like with a emotional health issue or physical health issue or financial health issue, if we misassess the issue, then we'll right? If we ask the wrong question, we'll get the wrong solution, we'll get the wrong results. And so for those of you that are listening, if we actually pigeonholed Letty into you're afraid, you just need to do it, right? It's a mindset issue. That's not actually Letty's issue. So any prescription or coaching that we gave her in the mindset space would not help at all, right? It's actually what is the path and what does success look like and how does this feel? So am I understanding you that if I showed you the path, right, and how it all works together, would you know what to post each week based on the training that you have?
Yes.
for engagement. So there's a couple of different phases for social media. I guess mastery is the right word. Oops, that's not what you guys wanted to see. Okay. So we have, and I think it's important that you do actually address your skill set in each phase before you get to the next phase, or it'll be all like together, right?
Yeah.
So there's a couple areas of social media to master. The first one is engagement, because this is having people like saying, "Hi, Letty." They're waving to you. Waving to you, right? First, we need people to engage with us before anything can happen. Otherwise, we're forced to become just like outreach fiends that are coming up out of nowhere. Now, some people we can, of course, outreach is a part of it, but this whole idea of spam is for the thoughtful people, right? That's a big deal. Spam is when our messages are irrelevant. That's the definition of spam. We're just throwing anything out there to see what sticks versus creating relevant communication. So understanding the difference between spam and not spam has to do with relevancy is important. And so when the first area is engagement, and the way I measure mastery around this is 100 comments a week, right? Consistently. The next is starting messenger conversations. And this is what I would call the networking part. So the definition of networking is building professional or social relationships. Okay, so we want to start messenger conversations when we want to start chatting with people. And I'm going to explain how this looks offline, and I think that's going to help a lot. And so this is like a, "Hi, I saw your name pop up. How the heck are you?" Right? That's that first, that's the icebreaker. That's the, like, I call this the good human interaction. Right? We start there. And I would want someone to have between 10 and 20 people per week that you are chatting with. Good so far?
Yes.
Okay. So now we have these people that we're talking to. The next phase, which is where people get tripped up, is the invitation to what's called a conversion event. Right? Which is like maybe a one-on-one, or maybe it's a like group type of event that might be interesting to them. The problem is, how do you get from a pizza post to would you like to do this? And there's a couple of ways to do this. One is if a problem comes up, right? If they share something that's relevant, then we can say, well, I heard you say blank. Do you know what I do for work or my part-time business? Whatever's accurate. Now we have a decent invite or a lead in. The other piece to this inviting part is if you have an event, to go back and say something like, I know we were chatting about such and such, but I thought of you because there is this thing. Thought it would be right up your alley. Can I share it with you? Right? And they say yes, or they say no, and then we give an invitation. This is what I call the gathering part. Once you have invited them and they say yes, right? This is sales skills, right? So that's a different topic, right? How to convert people once you're in a one-on-one or in an event. That's a different part. How does this feel as far as a path?
I like it, and it definitely sounds doable. I think my question is, when I start chatting with someone
Mhm.
and and I say, your name popped up, how the heck are you? Like how many, and I know it's not going to be a set number, but like how many interactions do you have with the chatting on Messenger before it would look like you're not just engaging them in conversation to get them to your event?
Yeah, so that is a good question. So the problem is you're only engaging with people to get them to an event. So you're broken from the beginning. So you actually have to separate it into different phases. You have to have engagement showing up in the world,
Okay.
right? So there's like engagement is basically first I need to be a person who shows up in the world. That's step one. Not because you have to for your business, but because you have to for your life, right? This is a core value. And the people that have this core value of I am a person who shows up in the world, who says hi to people, who engages with people is a core value, period. And the people that have this core value end up becoming great at network marketing. The people who fundamentally believe I'm going to keep to myself and I'm never going to talk to anyone ever, I'm going to stay in my shell and not be generous with my time, not be generous with my encouragement, not be generous with those things. When they try to do network marketing, it's never going to work because it is a switcheroo. So the first part to this is actually removing the switcheroo component from your life. That follow?
Yeah, that's exactly what I needed, because even though I've tried to I don't know, I've been working on this, but that really is what I need to do, because I was going into it thinking if I talk to them enough then it will come up, but really I just need to talk to them.
Yes. It's just like be social because it's the right thing to do as a member of the world.
Right.
Because the problem where you're getting this huge hang up is attachment to outcome. And because we've worked together in a mastermind, that attachment to outcome is going to kill your business.
Right.
Right. So we have to be able to show up for people with pure intentions, not knowing if we're harvesting or seeding.
Right.
Like we just have no idea what it's going to be like. Like the person you're nice to today could be your number one builder 4 years from now. But if you're so attached to the outcome, then there's going to be a lot of problems. So we want to be able to balance seeding and harvesting at the same time, but that means we have to take a step back. And so you'll see it's not 100 comments and 100 conversations. It's just the ones that make sense.
Right.
And then the conversations, it's not, I'm going to chat with 20 people and I'm going to have 20 invites. You might have 5 or 6 invites. You're not actually, in my opinion, trying to turn every conversation into an invite. What you're trying to do is explore relationships to see. So maybe I'll write this down.
Yeah, I like that phrasing because I am a very social person and I do like to talk to people and I say hi to everybody I pass on the street. So I like that wording of exploring relationships.
Yeah, well, and it's exploring relationships, see how you can provide value to each other. And this makes me think of when network marketers try to prospect me. This means like, I'm not trying to be all like arrogant or braggy, but I feel like I'm pretty good at what I do. So they're like messaging me like, you want to buy my mascara? And I'm like, are you sure that that's the play you want to make with me? Because you could ask, instead of for mascara, you could just read my profile and say, can you give me a one-on-one? And I may do it. I might just be like, yeah, maybe, sure. I'm not doing anything right now. I'd rather do that than create content. Or have them have give them a free call with Karen, and they make way more money than if they sold me mascara. And so what happens in network marketing is network marketers get so fixated on how do I get the sale that they miss opportunities that are so much bigger, possibly, right? Like you
Right.
could be chatting with a teacher and you're like, how do I get the teacher to use the this and the that? And right. When really the teacher could give you the secret to calming your child. And therefore saving you hundreds of dollars of therapy and end up making you way more from a different perspective. And so I think it's about separating networking and conversion. Networking and conversion are two different things. And what's happening is most people are mixing the networking and the conversion and trying to do it all at one time, where it really operates more like this. Where it's like you have your network up here, right? Then you have the people that you can, invite. And then you have the people that attend conversion event. And then you have the people who end up, right, enrolling. And it's not straight down. What everyone wants is they want their thing to look like this, right? I have 10 people. I talk to 10 people. I invite 10 people, right? 10 of them attend a conversion event and 10 of them enroll. And that is no business operates that way. And so the structure of holding it a little bit looser, it looks a lot like in-person networking. So prior to 2020, how did you meet people?
I was going to the gym. I was attending social functions. Yeah, just out and about in my community.
Okay, great. So 2019, out and about in community. 2021, out and about in online community. It's no different. It's actually, what's really interesting is it's more the same than it is different. Okay, so let's use your out and about. I believe Facebook, for example, is a party. It's a social event, right? You show up, you ask questions, you tell stories, you have fun, right? Like that's what it's designed to be. So can we use that as an example on what you would do in 2019 and
Yep.
bring it into current day? Okay.
Yep.
So you went to what kind of, give me one example of one social event that you would have gone to.
We have a happy hour in the neighborhood every Friday.
Okay, great. Okay, so you go around drinking and then what else? How did you meet people?
Well, they're not all my neighbors. Sometimes neighbors invite other friends, so like people I didn't know.
Okay, great.
So if cornhole was happening and somebody needed a partner, I'm always the first to step up if I know them or I don't know them. So you're just kind of mingling and getting to know new people.
So you're saying hi.
Yeah.
Also, what I notice is that you have people inviting other people.
Right.
What happened to the happy hour?
It actually still happens outside.
Okay, good. So you want to move this online, right?
Yep.
So online networking. Who hosts it? Is it like, are you kind of a ringleader? It kind of sounds like you're a ringleader type, or not really?
No, one of my good friends, it's like out in front of her house between her and the neighbor across the street.
Okay, great. So let's use cornhole as an example. Cornhole's fun. So you decide that you're like, I'll be your partner. How do you chat that person up? How do you convert cornhole and margaritas into a conversation about health and wellness?
I don't always, but usually you have to start with, oh, how many kids do you have? Where do they go to school? What sports do they play? Right. So that's usually the first conversation that we have. And then, oh, sorry about that. And then, from there, I don't know, I guess like if somebody's playing and they're like, oh, I'm going to feel this tomorrow in my back because I don't play this very often, I might say, oh, yeah, well, I use essential oils and our Deep Blue product is amazing for muscle
Yeah,
issues
sure. So when it comes up,
when it comes up.
but do you see how it's the same?
Yeah.
Right. So what you said when I said, okay, how do you, your earlier question, right, in offline was, how do I take a pizza conversation? Do you like pizza? To let's talk about your health and wellness. But the thing is you've never done that, right? You didn't take cornhole and turn it into health and wellness. What you just articulated, and I'm going to repeat it back to you, is I said, how do you translate it? And you said, well, I don't always, right? But online, have you been trying to always? Every conversation turn it. So that's the first problem,
Yes.
right? So take your normal, really good social skills and move them online as the same. So it becomes, well, I don't always take a, hey, I haven't seen you in a while, or that was a funny comment. What's been happening new with you? Right? What all that social stuff that you do, right? The how your kids playing sports and all that, you don't interview them in Messenger. You just look at their profile for those answers, right? You just skip a few steps. Because it would be a little awkward if you're like, how have you been? Oh, what are your kids doing? And I don't know you. What school do they go to? You would just go to their profile and say, I see that your kids play softball. How long have they been doing that? Right? My kids too, or whatever. So that's a little bit of a nuance to social media interaction. But after that, you would just see what comes up. Right?
Yeah.
And then you would invite them based on what comes up or not. But if you were at happy hour and you happen to have an event the next day, what would you do?
If it came up or if it didn't come up?
If it didn't come up, but you just met someone, but you happen to have an event the next day.
Okay.
So I have kids and they play softball and nothing came up, but you have an event tomorrow on how to have more energy. What would you do?
I guess I would probably say to them, hey, it was great playing cornhole with you. If you're not busy tomorrow morning, I'm teaching a class that you might find interesting. Just tell them what it's about and just say, is that something that you think you'd be interested in hearing about or not, either way?
Well, that's exactly right. So that's the same strategy you would use online.
Okay.
But you see how natural that is? How not weird it is?
It is very not weird when I'm face to face with somebody, which you would think on a computer it would be easier because you kind of have, I don't know, like a safety net. I feel like, face to face is often scarier for people, but that's really where I would rather be. So,
Well, sure, but what is it that's making it weird?
I think a lot of what makes it weird is like, so with the happy hour people, I might see them from week to week, even if I didn't really know them, or just see them. But like on Facebook, some of these people I haven't talked to in years and years and years. And I think that's what's making it weird is like out of nowhere, I'm going to pop back into their life. But using that strategy of exploring a relationship, it's a different way to think about it. And it makes it much easier.
Sure. Well, and I think you have a false premise there because it's not out of nowhere. They commented on your post.
Right.
So not out of nowhere at all. So here's what this is like. Some high school friend ends up coming with one of your neighbors to the happy hour. Would you ignore them?
No.
What would you say?
I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in forever. What have you been up to? Just talking about life. What are you doing now? And then it'd be easier for me to say, this is what I'm doing now.
That's exactly right. So it's the same, right? You wouldn't you wouldn't go to them and you wouldn't see them and go, oh my gosh, I haven't talked to them. If I said hi to them, it'd be out of the blue. It's not out of the blue. They showed up at a party you're at.
Right.
There's nothing out of the blue about it. Now, what might be out of the blue is pulling a list and saying, hey, I haven't talked to you in a long time. How have you been? That is out of the blue. And that's why the engagement skills that you're learning, that 100 comment a week foundation, is so critical.
Right.
And it's critical to do it every week, because also you mentioned something else about the happy hour. You might not talk to everyone, but they might show up a few times. And so when you do a couple of social media posts here and there, it puts a lot of pressure on those couple social media posts. But if every single week you're getting 100 to 200 comments, after 3 or 4 weeks, you're going to notice that people are paying attention to you that you didn't realize. And there's nothing out of the blue about it. I will argue, in addition to the false premise of it being out of the blue, that is probably also the attachment to the outcome you have that's making it weird. It's weird because you're making it weird.
Yeah.
And the reason you're making it weird is because you're only being social because of work.
Right.
Instead of being social because it's social. Right? Like, you're not only going to the happy hour because you work.
Right.
There's like, but you chose network marketing because you're social. They're backwards. So what's the reason network marketing is a good fit for you, Letty? It's because you're a social person. And if for those of you listening are like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Or you can become a social. Introverts can be social people too.
Right.
You're just typically more one-on-one, right? Or you just have to take a nap after. It's fine. Not a big deal, right? Introverts still also really thrive when they have good relationships. So it doesn't matter. So you choose network marketing because you're social. You don't become social because you chose network marketing.
Right.
Right. And if network marketing ends up forcing you to be social in ways that you hadn't in the past, that's different than being social only because of network marketing. And I think that's the big difference. And I think that's gonna help you a lot.
I think it will too, because being social is one of my favorite things. You know, before I stayed home with my kids, I was a chiropractor, and I equated it to always being at a cocktail party, going from room to room and chatting with people and finding out what they were doing that weekend or who was visiting. And it was very easy and super enjoyable. I loved it. So if I can put that into online social media, I would find it super enjoyable, and it would take the pressure off, actually, of me always thinking, oh, if I'm talking to this person, I have to ask them. Oh, if I just keep doing that over and over again, it would get it back to being super enjoyable.
Yeah, you're less attached actually when you increase the numbers, not when you decrease them. But when we're attached, we decrease the numbers, which makes us more attached.
Yes.
So if you only have one messenger conversation at a time, that person has to, right, connect with you, respond immediately, come to a conversion event, and enroll and build.
Right.
But if you're running 20, 30, 40 messenger conversations because you're just being social, you don't care if they respond. They respond. How's it going? It's going great. They don't respond. We're not like, oh my gosh, because you're like, I'm just so busy meeting as many people. And if people want to chat with me, they're great. And if they don't want to chat with me, it's not that big of a deal, because there's billions of people in the world.
Right.
As opposed to the one person that I'm going to talk to this week. By turning it up, I think it'll be a lot more helpful. But the other key is, once a month, having some sort of event that you can invite people to, because it is easier to invite people to a happy hour than it is to invite people to a one-on-one coffee date. Now your conversion goes down, right? Like less people, like if you invite 5 people to a happy hour, 1 or 2 will show up. If you invite 5 people to an invitation, like for a coffee date, 4 people will show up, right? That calculus changes. But I mean, if you like happy hours, you could do online happy hours with icebreakers, and the first few would be clunky and everyone's talking over each other and it's weird. But ultimately, there's still like, people are feeling isolated. And so if that's your that's sort of the way you are, you could figure that out where you're like, hey guys, I'm having a happy hour and we're going to talk, we're going to have this kind of drink. I'm going to give you guys the recipe in advance, make it, come, let's see, and then we'll talk about how to solve whatever problem.
I like that idea.
And it's taking what you would do normally offline and bringing it online, right? What we would do normally if you were close by is I'd throw you on my therapy couch right behind me and we talk about social media. I put a couch there for my very first client that happened to be my neighbor, and we've always just kept a couch there. But now we just do it over Zoom, right? And a webinar that I do is no different than an in-person speaking event. It's just delivered online. Right? The masterminds are no different than if we were all around a U-shaped table.
Right.
So it's the same, but delivering it online. And I think that will help you. But also I think you need to move it in phases. Instead of saying I'm bad at social media, you have to ask yourself, okay, have I mastered phase 1? Giving me an opportunity to master phase 2. Because if you only did 3 or 4 posts and you just got the 100 comments one week, you didn't even give yourself enough time to sort through the mud on the conversations, right? So I would just say number 1 focus would be phase 1, which is 100 comments a week. Number 2, once you get that 2 or 3 weeks in a row, then start saying hi to people, moving to 10 to 20 conversations a week. Do that for 2 or 3 weeks. Then you'll be comfortable inviting. You'll have more data to go, oh, I have 50 conversations going. I can see how this person, someone I invite, this is not someone I invite. But when you only have one, you don't know.
Right.
And so then that way you master social media engagement in about 8 to 9 weeks instead of, in 2023, which, at the rate most people are going is when they're going to master social media. How does that feel, Letty?
It feels so much better than it did a little bit ago, that's for sure.
Good. Pardon my dog. Apparently we have a shipment here. So as we wrap up here, what do you say are your biggest takeaways from our conversation?
My biggest takeaway, honestly, is treating social media just like I treat a social engagement in person. And really just chatting and being actually who I really am anyway, and just saying hi and talking and not even thinking about inviting or throwing my business at them, just talking to them.
Yeah, I love that. And in that vein, I haven't looked at I looked at your personal profile when you signed up, but I didn't look at it today. But make sure that your thing is social. Your personal profile isn't like, hi, if you comment on anything I do, I am going to jump on you, right? Make sure you have a social presence, right? At happy hour, I doubt you're wearing your company hat, your company t-shirt, and your company backpack. No. So make sure that as you show up in social events on social media, that you show up as you. If you're wearing a shirt, great. I mean, it doesn't matter, but that's not how we don't show up in uniform, I guess.
Right.
All right. Awesome. So I think I'm going to end this recording. If you guys are watching or listening, leave a comment. Tell Letty you appreciate her being brave. And I think that's it. So go ahead and say bye to everyone. And I didn't make you cry. Hooray. All right. Bye, guys.